Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hey, beautiful folks, this is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is Saturday, October the 19th, 2024. We have a jam-packed call tonight for you, and it's going to go down in the history books of the RVGCR. I guarantee you that. Before we get into the call, we're going to have a brief prayer, and we're going to get it kicked off and started off so that we don't have to wait much longer to get right into it. Father God, we thank you for allowing us to be here again as a community, as a family, as a tribe. We welcome, Father God, all people who are listening to this call. We welcome them with open arms, no matter if they agree, disagree, they are for us or against us. We love them all the way you would love us all as well. We ask that you cover everyone that is listening to this call, their family, their friends, protect them. We ask that you continue to heal those that are in any sort of ailment, like our great friend Eugene Big Dog, as he is recovering from his knee surgery. We ask that you continue to allow those who were affected by the hurricane to be replaced back into their homes or to another destination and safe and sound. We ask that you, if there are any needs amongst anyone who is listening to this call, we ask that you grant those needs on their behalf and in their favor. And we honor you, we glorify you in your precious name. Amen. All right, folks. Tonight, we're going to get also into real quick the announcements. The Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room is open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is where we are there to answer any questions you have related to the articles presented by Goldilocks. And also, of course, being that Goldilocks is the global #1 source of information for the RVGCR, this is the room where you may come to even ask questions related to the overall RVGCR. And yes, in that room, not only do we share the information, answer questions related to the RVGCR, that is where also with myself and Wiley, we are able to help members to prepare for their exchange by establishing relationships with wealth managers, real bankers at the bank. All right. Then we have Dee's room, where Dee, the amazing Dee, who provides a ton of articles and links in her room as well. And I am grateful for Dee and Goldilocks, who also invited me to attend the conference call this past week directly with the CBI. And we're going to touch on some of that tonight as well. Then we have the Crypto Finance Newsroom with Eugene Big Dog, who anything related to crypto, that is the room you want to be in to ask those questions and get those answers. Then, of course, the Higher Learning Call with Anastasia and myself. It has been postponed until November the 7th, and the call is typically on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is where you come to grow and evolve your spirit and also to understand your spiritual connection to the RV and for yourself as well. Anastasia is the one that I am forever grateful for, who actually introduced me to the RV back in 2012, 2013. She had to take off until November the 7th for a client who hired her to help him to heal from stage 4 cancer. She has a long history with her spiritual gifts to heal people from near death, and that's what she is focused on right now with that particular gentleman. And then, of course, last but definitely not least, Goldilocks Global Banking News, your daily podcast where we are able to provide the articles with the receipts and the daily audio representation on that podcast of the amazing global reach of Goldilocks' information. And just so that you know, Goldilocks Global Banking News, since we launched in July, as of right now, Goldilocks Global Banking News has over 8,270 plus subscribers and counting. That is a true testament of the facts, proof, reach, and receipts that Goldilocks provides that is absolutely reaching around the world. You would probably be surprised of who actually listens to these calls. You definitely would be surprised, and who also monitors the rooms. As a matter of fact, the beautiful, amazing, creative Jan, I'm going to ask to assist me real quick before we get into these articles by Goldilocks. Jan is going to share something with us from around the world. You all may not realize, but you are a part of an elite group. And I want to really give you all the credit because we have so many amazing members that are in our room, Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room, every day, participating, helping each other, helping new members, and establishing relationships with the banks, growing, evolving, and getting off the guru foo-foo weekly train. And it's amazing. Jan, where are you? If you can raise your hand, I know you're going to quickly help me with something.
I'm here.
There you go. Oh, there you go. I didn't even see you. All right. How you doing, young lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Folks, this is the amazing Jan. She is creative. She is kind. She's loving. One of the most beautiful souls, and helps in the room tremendously. Also, as a matter of fact, she created this beautiful artwork. It's the picture of a whale on an island. It's called Guru Island. You guys got to come to the room to see it. We won't go into that tonight. But Jan is going to share with us the list of countries. Speaking of the global reach of Goldilocks, Jan is going to share with you all the list of countries from around the world whereby Goldilocks Global Banking News has the most subscribers. If you can read that off to us. I know, Jan, when you saw that list, were you shocked?
I was highly impressed, no doubt.
All right.
The list is quite extensive, and That's a
And that,
testament to Goldilocks and you and the whole team, for sure.
yes. And it's actually a short list. There's still many more, but though this is the list with the most subscribers. Let's rock and roll.
All right. United States,
Mm-hmm.
Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, South Africa, Japan, Germany, Philippines, Colombia, New Zealand, Netherlands, Mexico, Spain, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Switzerland, France, Sweden, Iraq, of course, Costa Rica, Singapore, Austria, Argentina, Panama, Venezuela, Indonesia, Peru, Chile, Greece, Italy, Denmark, Croatia, South Korea, Jamaica, Belgium, India, Taiwan, Dominican Republic, Slovenia. This next one is pronounced Tunisia, and it's in North Africa. I looked that up because I didn't know.
Okay.
Israel, and this one I didn't know either. So there's a British English pronunciation, which is Lesotho, and an American English pronunciation, which is Lesotho. And that is in
South Asia.
that one is in South Africa.
South Africa. Yes, and I looked that up. That is, I believe, is the largest sovereign country in the world. I looked it up. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, just a few more. Norway, Poland, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Ireland. And like you said, this is just the ones that have the most members. There are more.
Yes.
So, great. Very impressive.
Thank you. Yes, very impressive. And thank you so much. Appreciate you, young lady. Folks, we enjoy having members to come on the call, participate. This is not about myself. It's not about Goldilocks. It's not about Wiley. It's not about my brother from another mother, Jester. It's not about us as individuals. It's about us as a collective. And most importantly, it's about you all. So we love your participation. And Marsha Enriquez, I see you. We got to get you comfortable in getting on these calls next week, Marsha. I reached out to you. I see you. I didn't forget about you. All right, folks. We are going to let's get into some amazing information tonight, folks. We are absolutely going to touch on the conference call a little later. The conference call that we had with the CBI during the Q&A. I would ask that you be prepared with questions, not necessarily too many comments, but questions. I would like for your questions to be, if tonight you have any questions about the call we had with the CBI, this will be the night to ask those questions during Q&A. Don't be shy. Be open to ask whatever it is you want to ask. There's no stupid question. There's no question off bounds, out of limits. But I may not be able to answer the question openly for privacy reasons. But you can feel free to ask those questions on the call during Q&A. And then also, I would ask that your questions be related to the topics that we're covering tonight on the call. The last couple of calls, people may want to ask questions that show that they may have drank some Kool-Aid, but let's keep the Kool-Aid in the Kool-Aid jar. All right. So we are going to get, this is jam-packed for you all. All right. We are going to jump right into the international payment systems. Understand and know, folks, that Goldilocks is the number one source and has mastered the ability to present the process of the RV to share with you all. This is why so many of our members have a peace of mind in learning the process in combination with being able to establish relationships with a bank, because they are able to walk in there from what we've trained them and showed them how to communicate with the banks. And then the information and the intel that Goldilocks provides, we're able to know what's happening within the banking system. So when we prepare our members by being able to go in there and with the banks and get confirmation directly from vice presidents of banks, branch managers, that the RV is absolutely happening and they are preparing and training for it. Goldilocks' articles and information and intel with inside sources within the banking system, along with directly to the CBI and other sources, we're able to prepare you and share information with you, with our members, so that they are prepared for their exchanges. And thank God we have Wiley as well, bringing his wealth of knowledge regarding wealth establishment and wealth building and generational wealth to help you all. Let's jump right into the very first article by Goldilocks. The FedNow service, which many of you have heard of. This is the international payment system within the United States. It's a payment and settlement system. The FedNow service, UPI, Unified Payment Interface, many of you have also heard of. The UPI payment system is the system created by India, whereby Iraq, Vietnam, Venezuela, and 8 other countries were beta tested and connected to earlier this year. The BRICS payment systems. So FedNow, UPI, and BRICS payment systems are all payment systems that allow for the sending and receiving of funds. Folks, the sending and receiving of funds also includes foreign currency exchanges, transactions of deposits and withdrawals. Think of billions and literally trillions of dollars that are transacted on a daily basis in the quantum financial system. These are the new payment systems. The FedNow represents the Federal Reserve Bank, that's the U.S. UPI for India, Vietnam, Iraq, and others. Also have Iraq has another one, and I'll mention that in a little bit. We all, of course, know the BRICS. The FedNow service is a payment and settlement service specifically for the Federal Reserve that enables instant payments in the United States. It's available 24/7, 365. It's a faster than the automated clearinghouse, which is the ACH system. If you all have had direct deposit from an employer, and you know you can set up, when you set up your direct deposits, it's through ACH. I'm sure some people didn't know ACH stands for Automated Clearing House. That's the clearing system within our banking system that allows your direct deposit checks to be deposited into your bank account. Oftentimes, if you're due to be paid on a Friday, it might hit your account midnight the night before or whenever it may be. This often takes 1 to 3 business days to actually complete. So you may get paid on a Friday, but through ACH, your employer has to actually have the accounting to make sure that your check is on the books by, let's say, Monday or Tuesday of that week. With the new payment systems that we are integrating into, the payment systems, the transactions will be instant. Not 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, but instant. That is the new banking system for which we are going into through the quantum financial system. UPI, Unified Payment Interface. It's a payment system in India that allows users to pay social benefits such as cash transfers and others within India, but also other countries like Iraq is connected to them. Of course, BRICS Pay. BRICS payment system, we will hear much more about this coming this week. Why? Because the BRICS summit is on the 22nd, and it is expected that they are going to roll out the BRICS payment system, whereby it's a decentralized payment messaging system that's being developed, of course, by the BRICS members. The goal of BRICS Pay is to make international payments less expensive and less complicated, and also faster. This is why it's going to surpass the ACH transactions. Remember, these international payment systems is absolutely 1000% what is going to enable our exchanges, yes, to exchange your dinar to USD, your dong to USD, whatever foreign currency you have to USD will be through these international payment systems, specifically FedNow. Majority of the banks in the US are connected, and some are not. Most are. For those that are listening, there will be links in the description of the audio and this podcast for the receipts for anyone and everyone to take a look at. Goldilocks is sharing that, and it's right there for you. Next, we are going to jump into something that is connected to these payment systems. What is it? The World Bank. For those that may not know, you're aware, the World Bank, who makes up Bretton Woods? Remember, we must have gold. Gold will be the standard to back all of our currencies. Absolutely, Iraq is repatriating and acquiring tons and tons of gold. Actually, this is a part of the conversation that we had with the CBI last week, this past Monday, regarding them purchasing thousands and thousands of tons more of gold. The World Bank, IMF, and several other institutions make up the Bretton Woods. So here Goldilocks is sharing regarding international payment systems. Some current international payment systems parts, and there are in development, CBDCs. Remember, there's a difference between a wholesale and retail. CBDCs. Instant payment systems. FedNow is one. The UPI that Iraq is connected to is another. And we're going to touch on another one that's going to blow your mind about Iraq tonight. And then, of course, stable coins. In order for our currencies around the world to be able to revalue and the value of those currencies to remain stable, think of stability. We must have stable coins, the tokenization of these assets. In order to do so, right now here in the U.S., in fact, the House of Representatives has already passed regulation in favor of stable coins and cryptocurrencies. It's now actually in the Senate being discussed, and other countries around the world are doing so as well. So when we exchange our currencies, these stable coins are going to play a large part. When we have those US dollars in our bank accounts, the stability of the value is going to be large in part as a result of stable coin regulations. Remember, even Ripple has already created a stable coin, and we're watching and waiting for that to roll out as well. Cross-border international payment systems, which is chips. Automation and digitalization. These trends are driven by the need to reduce costs, mitigate risk, and improve operational efficiency. Blockchain technology. You want to talk about the QFS? What is the quantum financial system? It's a blockchain, not a bank account. That's guru foo-foo. You're not going to the bank to get no laptops when you exchange, no Q phones. Can you imagine? You're being encouraged to not trust the bank, but go exchange your money into the new financial system, and they're going to give you a laptop and a phone? Good luck with your money staying in that account. If you're supposed to get a laptop from the bank when you exchange your money and a phone, really? Is that the Obama phone? What kind of phone? Q phone? Come on now. Folks, don't follow that foolishness. Blockchain, the QFS is the blockchain. It's not a bank account. And you're not going to the bank to get no doggone laptops and Q phones when you exchange. Throw that garbage out the window. Also, strategic collaborations will be coming through from this as well. The sections of the quantum financial system will go a long way, Goldilocks is sharing, in making the international payment systems safer and much faster than before. Safer, folks. Think of when you exchange your currency in the new financial system, and there is checks and balances on both sides of the transaction before the transaction is complete. And mind you, it is instant, but you won't even see it or recognize it. However, when you exchange your currency into the new financial system, before that large amount of money or whatever it is hits your account in the US, in US dollars, you can rest assured every digital means and measure within the blockchain, yes, the quantum financial system, has made sure that the amount, not only the amount is accurate on both sides of your exchange, but also you as an individual. Goldilocks shared several months ago that this is going to be new to many of you listening to this, but when you go to exchange your currency, there is actually going to be something called due diligence on you. It's going to be instant. There's going to be background checks, and these are new regulations that have been passed into the Federal Register, new regulations that have gone into effect here. Goldilocks shared this several months ago. I know this is new to many of you, but when you go to the bank and you do your exchanges, there's going to be instant background checks because they want to make sure you're not a terrorist, you have no malicious background or experience, because this is a new system. There is going to be a good amount of people that are going to become wealthy, and they want to make sure that there's no nefarious people that are going to be exchanging for large amounts of money. I'm just giving you a heads up. So in the new quantum financial system, not only is it going to be safer for the banks, but safe for you and much faster. Many of these systematic parts that Goldilocks is sharing will become a part of the entire digital-based monetary system. So the entire quantum financial system. These measures, folks, are also, these regulations have already been passed also even in Iraq through their anti-money laundering regulations. The U.S. has done the same thing in passing the anti-money laundering regulations in preparation for a good amount of people that are going to be exchanging large amounts of money, becoming wealthy. Remember, Goldilocks has shared that Iraq and the U.S. lockstep and key, passing the same regulations, doing some of the same things at the same time in preparation for the new quantum financial system. And yes, absolutely in preparation for these exchanges that are going to occur. Now, also, we are going to jump into the communication means. Just imagine you have Iraqi dinar, you have Vietnamese dong or any other foreign currency. These currencies, in order to exchange them from one currency to the other, there has to be a system in place to translate from one language, one currency, let's say from the dinar to the US dollar, or from the dong to the US dollar. There are what's called ISO codes youtubeshorts. Goldilocks has been sharing this for quite some time. And sometimes we often need to hear the same thing multiple times for it to sink in. I hope this sinks in what I'm about to share with you from Goldilocks. ISO, international, and that first, I've spoken of this before. The terms in finance, and I learned this when I was in international finance, and it was beat into my head to understand terminology. When you see the term or hear the term International Standardization Organization or International Standardized Organization, the first letter is I, stands for international. Therefore, there must be an international standard in communication for this particular International Standardized Organization. Did you know that the ISO code for the Iraqi dinar is IQD? Did you know that the ISO International Standardized Code for Vietnam, the Vietnamese currency, is VND? The one for the American dollar is the USD. Yes, that code that you all became familiar with, IQD, that code you all became familiar with, VND, and whatever VES, whatever three-letter acronym you became aware of through this investment, it has a name. ISO, International Standardized Organization, is a code. And the ISO 222 is a different code. This is the digital communication infrastructure that actually those codes, IQD, VND, to be translated to the USD will be done through Ripple via ISO 222. It's a global standard for financial messaging, meaning it will serve as the foundation for the communication infrastructure behind the new banking system, enabling faster and more efficient transactions by providing a common language for banks to exchange. So basically, for a common language for banks to talk to each other. Folks, you go into exchange your dinar. That dinar, that IQD, is represented in the bank of the Central Bank of Iraq. It needs to communicate with the Federal Reserve Bank in the US in order for that IQD to convert and it be exchanged into USD. In the old traditional financing system, it didn't exist under the new codes in the new messaging system called ISO 222. This is specific to the new banking system we call the quantum financial system. Key points about ISO 222. So you got to think. You have many countries around the world with many different currencies for which many of you hold. In the new banking system, it's a whole new language that will be spoken between the banks in order for us to exchange. The old Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble language of the old financial system does not apply to the new financial system. There's no means of communication between the old and the new. This is why this is called a global reset. There had to be a resetting of the system. As Jester said many, many years ago, we had to have a new system in place. Yeah, we've been hearing for many years, every weekend, all these bank sources and all these things. How? No new system until now. We're moving into the last final phases of these systems being integrated. So this is where Goldilocks is sharing the key points of the ISO 20022 is the functionality. It acts as a standardized format for exchanging payment information between banks. This is the new communication system so that you can exchange your currency. It allows smoother cross-border transactions and improved data transparency. Remember, cross-border. Iraq is across the pond on one border, and we're in the U.S. That's cross-border. You exchange from the dinar to the U.S. They're cross-border. There needs to be a new communication system in place for us to exchange from IQD to USD. Oh, the translator is called ISO 222. It allows the Central Bank of Iraq to communicate through FedNow, through the UPI, to the Federal Reserve for you to exchange and obtain your wealth in the new financial system. And it's done instantly. This is why it's called an instant payment system. What ISO does as well, it impacts large in part the banking system to have a streamlined process. It is not a currency. It's a coin, but a standardized message format. And it's not a coin or currency. It's a standardized message format for communication between banks, communication between the Central Bank of Iraq and the Federal Reserve, where our USDs are. It's a communication format between the State Bank of Vietnam, which is their central bank, and the Federal Reserve. How is it done through our systems, our central banking system? FedNow, which we talked about a few minutes ago, and FedWire. These are the new communication systems, folks, that they have been preparing for quite some time. There are some ISO compliant tokens, some ISO 22 compliant tokens that Goldilocks is sharing. XRP via the Ripple network. We all have heard of it. This is what will allow us to be able to exchange. This means XRP is a cryptocurrency that can be used as a medium of exchange. Remember, I just said this is how we will exchange in the new quantum financial system. XRP, it's a medium of exchange to facilitate rapid and cost-effective exchanges, rapid and cost-effective transactions. Also, Quant, Cardano, Algor, Stellar, Hedera, IOTA, others. These are others as well, but most known to many of you is XRP. Now, we're going to share something with you because Iraq has more than one instant payment system that they're actually connected to. Remember, we talked about Unified Payment System, UPI. What we're going to share with you, which some of you may have heard of. I heard it talked about several years ago without proper explanation in dinar land. I'm going to do a quick explanation of it. I just dropped this into the room. This is called the Buna platform. If you look at the first screenshot that I'm sharing, the organization Buna, it is a cross-border and multi-currency payment system founded by the Arab Monetary Fund in 2008. There is over 80 Arab countries that are connected to what's called the Buna platform. The second screenshot, as you can see, highlighted in yellow, one of those 80 is the Central Bank of Iraq. Instant cross-border payment system. And we just talked about XRP, cross-border. Remember, via Ripple, Iraq went live with Ripple partner Temenos in April. Then last but not least, this next screenshot. This is a list of the Buna currencies, FHIs. These are funding holding institutions and their currencies. You have 6 what are called financial holding institutions, which are central banks that hold the money of a country. But these specific banks hold not just the money of a central bank, but it may be a financial institution that holds a specific currency for that central bank and basically plays the role of a conduit between the central bank and the client. Here we have six currencies and 6 financial holding institutions. The Central Bank of the UAE, United Arab Emirates, the UAE dirham is the currency. This is the Buna platform. The Central Bank of Egypt, the Egyptian pound. Saudi National Bank, the Saudi Riyal. And lo and behold, we have JP Morgan Chase. And its currency is the US dollar, of course. Remember, who did Iraq meet with in September when it came to the US? Was it not JP Morgan Chase? Was it not MoneyGram and Western Union? We're going to touch on that in a little bit. Who did they also meet with in April when they came to the US? Was it not JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Western Union, MoneyGram, Oliver Wyman? What about in January in Abu Dhabi? JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, MoneyGram, Western Union, Oliver Wyman, and others? Who's been in Iraq since 2012 and helped them to rebuild their banking infrastructure and assist them to be prepared to go international based on international standards? JP Morgan Chase. So you mean to tell me we also have Standard Chartered Bank, which covers the euro, and Central Bank of Jordan, which covers the Jordan dinar? You have all these Arab and one European country and one specific bank connected to the Buna platform? Have you thought about how the dinar can also translate from IQD to USD? Didn't I just show you that the Central Bank of Iraq is connected to the same international payment system? And JP Morgan Chase is connected to this international payment system, representing the Buna platform, one of 6 currencies and financial holding institutions? Have you thought about why many of our members, we've encouraged them to establish relationships with specific banks and their wealth managers, and they have confirmed that these banks are aware of the RV and share that with our members? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Goldilocks has been sharing a lot of this. Some of it is not the first time for some of you. It is for some. But I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down by Goldilocks. A lot, and some of this was a part of the conversation we had last week with the CBI. And what I just dropped into the room is large in part of what we talked about with the CBI last Monday. Here it is. Goldilocks is sharing. This is true intel. This is CBI contact intel by Goldilocks. D, myself, Freedom Fighter, and Goldilocks spoke by way of phone conference to our CBI contact in Iraq last Monday. CBI talked about how his people are moving towards a digital banking system starting next month, utilizing debit cards, credit cards, and point of sale. Ladies and gentlemen, this digital transformation includes the international payment systems. This is why the CBI shared that by the end of this year, they're removing themselves from the electronic platform controlled by the Federal Reserve Bank here in the United States, so that they can connect to the international correspondent banks. Again, international correspondent banks. What is ISO? International Standardized Organization. What is the ISO code for the Iraqi currency? IQD. International. Through the use of a smartphone, the CBI shared with us, the Iraqi people will be utilizing an electronic wallet that enables them to do international exchanging of currency across borders through what companies did they meet with in the U.S.? We just mentioned this past September, August, April, January, and last year, international exchange of currency cross borders through Western Union, MoneyGram, and Visa. This is for the Iraqi citizens traveling all over the world who may also be employees of Iraq, but they live in other countries. Western Union, MoneyGram, folks, to these citizens will be able to, in the new quantum financial system, be able to exchange instantly versus before through Western Union, MoneyGram. It wasn't as fast, efficient. We're moving, and they are moving into a whole new era of digital transformation. Iraq announced earlier this year that their banking system is actually digital and licensed digital companies and banks. Goldilocks is sharing Oliver Wyman International Managing Company. This is a company, not an individual, has been helping Iraq's people to understand the process of digital transactions. Iraq, folks, is now moved from the Stone Ages. As a matter of fact, when we had the call this past week with the Central Bank of Iraq, folks, the Central Bank of Iraq shared with us that last year it was almost 9 million Iraqi citizens that were successfully connected to the digital banking system via smartphones and other technology. Iraq's population is 40 million people. Last year, 2023, only 9 million were connected to the new digital banking system. Only 9 million people out of 40 million were even concerned or open to the new digital bank. We may take for granted here, we have smartphones, we have face recognition, retina, all these different means. Iraq didn't have that. But per the conversation we had with the CBI this past week, and also we've seen the proof, Iraq went from 9 million last year to 20 million citizens this year connected. So now they're at half of their population. No, they do not need 100% of their population to be connected. I know what you're thinking. No, this just shows within a short period of time how aggressive they have been to transform their economy. How in the world? We're going into a new quantum financial system, a new banking system. How in the world could have Iraq been ready last year with only 9 million people that were even interested in their money into the new digital banking system? And we're going to exchange our currency into a new digital banking system, and it's Iraqi dinar, but only 9 million of their people are connected. I even joked with the CBI how the Iraqi citizens love to keep their dinars under their mattresses. And he just chuckled. But they have made a tremendous turnaround from last year to this year. Thanks to the U.S. Treasury, thanks to J.P. Morgan Chase, thanks to Oliver Wyman, the company, thanks to KT&Y, thanks to Ernst & Young, thanks to Saudi Arabia. Yep. And Saudi Arabia is assisting them to get into the World Trade Organization. The move Goldilocks shares to retail inclusion has helped Iraq's ability to move forward as an independent nation in use of their money, the Iraqi dinar, allowing Iraq to move away from the old electronic platform connected to the U.S., as well as ending the currency auction window by the end of this year. This is directly from the CBI that not only they shared with us this past week, but they have shared this publicly via press releases in September and August. This mechanism, this what Iraq is doing, it allows them to connect to correspondent international banks, or as Goldilocks shares, direct banking international systems. This is something else that the CBI shared with us last week that's very important and is relevant to the International Organization for Standardization, ISO. And it is what is called the ICE cutter, or the automated system for customs data. This is where Iraq, the Iraqi ports and borders and customs, it will enable Iraq to interface the Iraqi dinar's rates, at the borders of Iraq, whereby the goods and services are shipped in and out of Iraq all over the world. Think the World Trade Organization, whereby you have 120 plus countries that are members of the WTO. Folks, in order for Iraq to join the World Trade Organization, and yes, they now have met the qualifications. They had to. It was mandatory. It was a requirement by the WTO for Iraq to not only digitize their banking system, but to digitize their borders and customs. Iraq previously, billions and trillions of dollars going in and out of Iraq's ports. There's many ports throughout Iraq. Just imagine the manipulation and corruption at the borders, at customs, through paper transactions, hand-to-hand, manual transactions. You got people paying for their children's college tuitions, houses, boats, cars from the manipulation at their borders. Do you understand now them connecting to the automated system for customs data as a requirement to get into the WTO? How it eliminates the human manipulation of the Iraqi dinar, which in turn gives the strength and power to the dinar that enables us to go into exchange our currency with a currency that is strong, not only backed by gold, but then the stable coins, but then the digital transformation of their ports in the banking system, which allows transparency and accuracy and speed. The Iraqi dinar and other currencies, there was never a switch, a flip of the switch to a so-called rate. These rates that have been floating out and around dinar land. It is a systematic, organic approach with gold backing, with trade on their borders. This is why Goldilocks has coined the phrase, watch the water. Why? Where are the customs in the ports? The majority of them on the water. How do you think the value of the dinar or any currency goes up and it's moved on the water. The automated system for customs data is a computerized customs management system that covers most foreign trade procedures. Iraq negotiated in order for Iraq to enter into and qualify for the World Trade Organization. They literally, not figuratively speaking, they literally had to go and negotiate trade agreements with the other WTO members, which is 120 plus. And guess what? Those other WTO members are also connected to the automated system for customs data, otherwise known as ICE-CUTA. It's a universal language between the WTO countries that are all being interfaced into the quantum financial system. ICE-CUTA. It also generates trade data that can be used for statistical economic analysis and was developed by the United Nations. It uses international codes and standards developed by the International Organization for Standardization. What again is that ISO, International Standard for Organization Code for the Iraqi dinar, IQD? So you mean to tell me the IQD will communicate with the automated system for customs data? The VND and the USD? It can be configured to suit the national characteristics of individual customs at the borders and national tariffs and legislation. This is where Iraq is able to secure revenue and profit into Iraq, which gives the strength to the dinar in a digital format that never existed before. The ICE-CUTA, Automated System for Customs Data, Goldilocks is sharing, provides electronic data interchange between traders and customs and countries using prevailing standards. This is why the Central Bank of Iraq made it very clear this past week to us, their goal and intentions to be prepared with international standards for the Iraqi banking system. Our Goldilocks is sharing. These are the International Organization for Standardization currency codes, IQD, VND, USD, that Goldilocks has been talking about that will interface into the quantum financial system. It wasn't ready before now. Last but not least, Goldilocks is sharing. Then we're going to get into Q&A. Come with your questions about the conversation we had with the CBI or these topics. But last but not least, Goldilocks is sharing that the information shared today gives you a good idea of the overall quantum financial system. It is not an exhaustive list, but it is some of the major components, what we just shared, some of the major components that are still being tweaked and in their final phases of development. Yes, that will enable us to exchange our currencies. What we need to see, Goldilocks is sharing, what we need to see completed in order to do our foreign currency exchanges are expected to be done in 2025. This is why the WTO stated that their fourth working party for Iraq will be in the first quarter of 2025, now that Iraq has met the qualifications. Goldilocks is sharing. Goldilocks will have more definitive dates as we conclude the protocols, laws, and liquidity necessary to streamline the new digital mechanisms that we've talked about here tonight inside the new digital asset-based trading system called the QFS. Let's open it up for some Q&A. Come with your questions. There's no question off limits. Now, I didn't say the answer would be off limits. I'm saying the question. If you have questions about the call we had with the CBI, this is your opportunity to ask those questions. Not too many places, your channels, connections you're going to have where you'll be able to speak to someone who literally spoke to the CBI. And for those of you who may not be aware, this is one of many calls that Goldilocks indeed has with the CBI periodically. And so come with your questions. Let's get them on the table and see what we can do to help you. And also, please make sure your questions are related to the topics. And let's open it up. Please go ahead, feel free to raise your hand. We will call upon you, and let's get to it. Who has a question? Raise your hand. Mike N., you are never shy. I love it. How you doing, young man?
I'm good, brother. How about yourself?
Hey, man, I am great. Thank you.
So I do got some questions. I heard you mention that they're going to be using debit cards next month. So that means they're going to start using that system. I've also paid attention to, the dollar auctions that need to end. And then you mentioned again, the World Trade Organization, that is a meeting that's in the first quarter. By chance, because there's been a lot of conversation about this general budget and how it needs to be applied with them, would they open that budget and use a new rate to start some of the projects that they were looking to get done back in 23 to end of 24?
Man, you asked an amazing question. I absolutely love that question. I love that question because would you believe I thought I sort of foretold in my head that someone would ask this question? I'm not surprised it's you. I'm so glad you asked that question, Mike, because the topic of Iraq's general budget is probably one of the hottest topics and talking points in dinar land. Would you say?
Yes.
I'm going to share with you that Iraq's general budget, Iraq doesn't need to do anything with that budget to change for a rate to be changed or shown in order to do projects. This is why. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is why, and it's so unfortunate for the people who talk about this budget don't understand what type of budget it is. That budget is called an operation and general budget. Operational and general budget. The funds, the money to pay for the salaries of the Iraqi employees, the projects, the state country projects, meaning roads, bridges, tunnels, so forth and so on, that what pays for those salaries and projects is the operational and general budget. The budget is for those salaries, those, for example, what state do you live in?
Illinois.
Illinois has an operation and general budget, the state. It pays for the state employees' salaries, pensions, so forth and so on. in the infrastructures, the roads, bridges, and tunnels, so forth and so on, of the state of Illinois. So
Correct.
when the state of Illinois passes their budget, the money is already allocated for those particular projects within the state of Illinois. Iraq's operational general budget for 2023, 24, 25, the 3-year called the tripartite budget.
Mm-hmm.
The rate of the dinar was 1310, 1320. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I know it's 1310 or 1320. The budget is already allocated. The money is already allocated. The projects outside of that budget comes from private sector money, and also the value of the dinar going up. Has nothing to do, has absolutely nothing to do with the budget that so-called intel providers are speaking about in dinar land. That's not the type of, it's an operational and general budget. Iraq does not need to change the rate, to do anything with the rate, to do anything with the dinar, releasing of funds to pay for anything. The money is already there, allocated in the budget. Outside of the revaluing of the dinar has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Okay. So you said, so you don't think that, and I respect what you're saying, and I understand exactly what you said when you said in terms of operational. So you're saying that for them to get started on these projects, the delay of that had zero anything to do with changing a value to be able to make things less, cost less money to be able to do those projects.
That's correct. Absolutely nothing. Not zero. Absolutely nothing to do. See, and what you're speaking of is the delay in certain projects within the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're
Yes.
referring to? The
Yes.
delay in certain projects within the budget. Just imagine this. Do you remember hearing about salaries being released to pay employees in Iraq recently?
Kurdistan region.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is something that they've been doing in a delayed fashion since the beginning of Iraq's time. It's normal. It's called politics within Iraq. That's all it is. The delay is that's all it is. It's normal. For example, let me give you a prime example. You're sharp. You're going to pick it up. Here in the United States, most recently, haven't we heard about the potential budget? Government shutdown.
Yes, we have.
The government shutdowns that we constantly are hearing about is because the Congress can't agree on finalizing a budget. Therefore, there are delays and the threat of a shutdown. It's no different than the operational budget, the operational and intentional and budget in Iraq. No different. It's the equivalent of our political delays in agreeing on a budget outcome here in the United States. But let the gurus talk about it. Oh, it's the delay and blah 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 and the hog and the cat and the duck said that my high level sources are it's going to happen. No, man, that's all guru foo-foo. There's no. But did you understand the analogy I gave you with the United States and our budget crisis with our government? It's the same thing. Operational and general budget for the United States, which comes from from the OPM in the United States, our operations and management budget. Same thing with Iraq. Operations and management, operational budget. No different.
Okay.
Political infighting. Though the delays have nothing to do with nothing but just political disagreements like between the House and the Senate here in the United States. That tripartite budget, 23, 24, 25, Iraq does not have to do anything with the rate in the budget. They cannot, they will not. See, when it comes to budgets, when I was in international finance, we had to forecast and allocate money within the budget of the bank for 3 to 5 years in advance. So therefore,
So I take it you had phases you had to go through.
there were phases. So, but the money was already allocated years in advance. Iraq allocated the money 3 years in advance, 23, 24, 20. Were there amendments? Yes. Changes? Yes. But they don't need to change the rate, increase the value of the dinar in order to pay for employee salaries, for roads and bridges. It's already allocated in the budget 3 years in advance at 1310.
Understood. You're gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings with that one, man.
I know, but I'm so glad you asked the question so people can hear the truth. For example, if all of this was true, what has been said about the budget, wouldn't you think it would have been completed by now?
That's been the conversation for quite some time. And, I've seen it from multiple people on YouTube, Telegram, you name it. They all hit on that same idea.
They're all saying the same thing.
Whole thing is what we're waiting for is them to revalue so they can start opening these projects and getting to work and putting people to school. There was even a point where I guess there was a standstill with ambulances running, because it was part of a budget for hospitals. Saying that people were going on strike. There's articles that were there that showed these strikes, and obviously everybody came back and used the budget and revaluation as this is the reason why things aren't moving forward.
It's that the ambulances, the strike. Let me ask you this question. Do you recall as a prime example about on October the 1st, what happened at our ports in the United States?
Oh, they got a shutdown. There was a strike. We got the,
Then wasn't the issue with the negotiation of pay and automation?
Correct.
What's the difference that happened in Iraq? What's the difference? Is there a difference with that when what happened in Iraq? What striking? No difference. Did here in the United States? Did we have to go to Congress to have them increase the dollar to become $3 in order to pay the striking workers? No. So why does Iraq have to do that? They don't.
I agree.
It doesn't work that way. But the people out there that are telling dinar land this, I'll just say this. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll say this. They may not mean any harm. They may not know. They just may be sharing and parroting what this guru said, that guru said, this one said, that one said. Oh, yeah, I agree. He said that. Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Yeah, but one thing gets shot around, and I promise you it goes to 15 other places, and it's all the same.
It's all the
back off each other. It's sickening.
Exactly. It's all the same and the same result. Right or wrong?
It is.
And the result is nothing. When you think about it, and you're sharp, and you if you think about it and you internalize it and you just apply it just like I did to you here in the United States. There's a strike, there's an issue with salaries, there's this, there's that. Shoot, in New York City, when they strike, the unions, they'll have a big old inflated rat to have it sit out in front of the wherever they're striking and shut down and all this, thousands of people in the street, shut down the trains, the buses, everything. Just like in Iraq, they'll shut down the streets, the roads, everything. It has absolutely nothing to do with the operational and general budget.
All right.
Nothing different.
I appreciate you answering that question.
Does that make sense?
Obviously,
I don't want to let you. I don't want to let you go unless I know it makes sense to you. Because if I need to
no,
clarify anything,
that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, here I follow a lot of what you guys put out, and I do a lot of research on my own. Again, I never got a, they're part of the budget. I never understood why they were delaying it, but I mean, I was from whatever they're saying, then there's been shown that it's only used 20% of the budget and this and that, but it does make sense. I mean, if they agreed on a budget and plan, I don't, that rate would have to have been officially in there for them to do that. And if they agreed on something that passed the House, as it's been
mm-hmm,
stated,
mm-hmm.
obviously it's got to be at that rate that it's at.
Right. Then when the dinar revalues, and then everything else outside of that budget can be paid for. Because it'll be excess revenue and profit to the Central Bank of Iraq. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
And
I appreciate you spending some time.
I need your help real quick.
Yes.
You're aware that we need gold, right, to back our currencies?
100%. We just closed at 27.21 for the week.
You on it. I told you. I knew you were sharp. No, we need gold to back our currencies. Yet there are people telling folks that Iraq's budget, they're going to open it up and pay for this and do this, that, and all these different things. Do we have a gold standard yet?
No.
Okay. So how can it be done? Now, and that's not to say it's not coming. Goldilocks is sharing and showing us it's coming. The regulations are coming. It's the mechanisms are being put into place. Iraq is preparing. On our conversation with the CBI last week, they confirmed they are buying gold in droves, hundreds of thousands of tons of gold. The CBI shared with us they're buying. They're not buying tons. Iraq is 29th ranked. 29th in the world in gold reserves. Iraq is one of the top 30 countries in the world with gold. They are not buying all this gold to put in their bathrooms like Saddam Hussein did. They are doing it, preparing for the gold standard to revalue their currency.
It makes sense.
But I wouldn't mind a gold toilet, but you can pay for it. I'm not.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
You got it. All right. I appreciate that question by Mike so much. I know my answer, like he said, may hurt some feelings. But the truth, we know the truth hurts, but the truth can also help in preparing you for reality so that you're able, I'm speaking to anyone listening to this call, so that you're able to prepare yourself and your family for this blessing with the proper expectations and information as well. Don't look at that budget, folks, as a means to Iraq RV. That's an operational general budget. The money, the 1310 dinars, is allocated for salaries, pensions, and projects, infrastructure projects within Iraq. The money is already there in 1310. I don't care what people say. That's how an operational general budget works. Okay. All right. Who has a question? Please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand. Let's get you going. Get you going. Feel free to raise your hand. If you show, raise your hand. So if you had a question about the CBI conversation ever before and not tonight, it's not tonight. Eve, young lady, you can unmute Eve, and there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right after I hit the thing you said about the conversation tonight, I don't know if It's not directly related, so I don't know if I should ask it. And you
Oh,
said that
is it related to the topics that we covered tonight, or
yes,
no? Okay, yeah.
I would think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So, what actually does fund the RV, the Iraqi revaluation or reinstatement, whatever it's going to be? What
hmm
does fund that?
Okay, let me make sure I heard your question correctly. What funds the Iraqi dinar, or what funds the global currency reset? I want to make sure I understand your question so I can answer it correctly.
Well, the reset. So I guess it could be all in one,
hmm
the global reset,
hmm
or
hmm
if they're separate in separate ways, then I'm
hmm
referring to the Iraqi dinar.
Okay. The what funds the I'll just answer it by stating globally. There's different mechanisms which actually does it. For one, there's supply and demand. Two, there is gold that backs the currencies. I'm not only going to answer what funds it, but what also backs it, because I want to give you the totality, the total picture. The gold and the tokenizing of the assets and the commodities that will back the currencies, the commodities such as gold, silver, agricultural products, as well of a particular country. So the country of Iraq and their commodities, the country of the US and its commodities, the country of Vietnam and its commodities will back, support that currency along with stable coins, which we talked about tonight. So the funding that you're asking, that part, and a part of the funding of the RVGCR are sovereign bonds from a country as well that have been allocated within the quantum financial system. So you combine the sovereignty of those bonds, real bonds of each country, the assets, commodities that I mentioned as well, in comparison with the sovereign bonds. So in dinar land, I know for many years there's been this talk about different funding sources of the RVGCR. Did I answer your question? One, and two, what have you heard, Eve, that funds the dinar and the RVGCR?
Well, what you said is one of the main ones that I've heard, but I've never heard. I'm sure you spoke of it before I became a member of your group.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted your opinion, and that is what I thought. I get confused about the bonds, what's sovereign, what's not, like what you talk about, hearing all these things that are out there in dinar land. But you answered it the way that I thought that it probably was, but I wasn't secure in my thoughts about it.
No
So I thank you
problem.
very much. You're very, very helpful as always.
You're welcome, young lady. No problem at all. Okie dokie. All right. All right. Who's another question? Please go ahead and feel free to raise your hand. Raise your hand. And we will come right to you. I am shocked that no one has a question about the meeting with the CBI. I am shocked. Hey, Mike, you can unmute.
All right, look, you know what? I'll ask the question, the obvious elephant in the room here.
Okay.
If you could give us one piece of information from that actual meeting, from what you had in discussion with that CBI contact,
Mhm.
what would you tell us?
If I could give you one piece of information,
A piece of information that you had
uh-huh.
and that stuck out to you out of
Oh,
that
okay,
conversation that you had.
okay. Trying to think. I want to give you more than one.
Okay,
so,
give us your three, because you know we're all here. We all want to know: is the revalue 30 days from now? Is it 60 days from now? Is it 90 days from now? Or hey, can they cut this auction off sooner and get started on this next month when they start the cards? Using their digital system.
okay. So the auction, they are on track to end the currency auction by the end of this year. And as you, I'm sure, are aware, that's in writing by directly from the CBI that they said they would do. Um, Receiving confirmation from the CBI on that call was huge. Why I say that is this, because we can see something in writing from an institution, from a bank, from a government agency, from wherever, but anything can happen for it to be to kind of go left, if you will.
Correct.
But on that call, not me, just but we received direct confirmation with the absolute confidence in the voice from the CBI representatives that they are ending the currency auctions by the end of this year. Of course, anything can happen, but it was because I actually asked the question very strategically in a certain way to get the answer, and the answer was without hesitation, and it was strong. This is what we're doing by the end of this year. We are removing from the platform in the currency auction. Now, for those that may not be aware of the significance and the importance of this, that electronic platform in the currency auction window in the white paper economic reform plan that was written by the late Dr. Shabibi, the former CBI governor, in 2011-12, when he wrote the white paper economic reform plan, one of the last requirements that Iraq had to complete in order to prepare to revalue the dinar was to end the currency auction window. So it's been almost 12 or some odd years in the making for them to get to this point, to put in writing and to state with confidence that they're going to end it by the end of this year. This is one of the reasons why they've met so many times with the U.S. this year. Probably 3 or 4 times they flew to the U.S. Just think about that, Mike. Iraq came to visit the U.S. Treasury. Citibank was in the meeting. J.P. Morgan Chase and these international companies. 3 or 4 times within a 9-10 month span. It's never happened before like that. They're in preparation of something.
So they're ready to pull the trigger and it's going.
They are in preparation. Remember, they also, the World Trade Organization in Q1 of next year. So if we are looking at the World Trade Organization's process of the 4th working party for Iraq in Q1, you still want to know the question if they can do this they can quote unquote pull the trigger by the end of the year if the World Trade Organization is stating they're going to be in finalizes with Iraq in Q1. Does that kind of give you an idea? Mm-hmm.
Yep, that tells me you still got a little time, but it's on its way. It's got to finish up and get.
It's on its way, and also just to answer your question, I don't want to fail to mention this with the CBI. Several times, it was mentioned. We, the Central Bank of Iraq, are preparing to connect with international standards. They kept saying it, international standards. They're preparing their banking system for international standards, and specifically stated to disconnect from the electronic platform of the U.S. and connect with the international correspondent banks, meaning global banks. Disconnect from the U.S. bank, Federal Reserve, and connect the Iraqi banking system with international banks based on international standards. That was mentioned several times. What does that tell you?
Tells me that they're getting ready to go international.
Exactly.
They're preparing for it.
They're preparing for it. Now, I can sit here and say, oh, they said blah, 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 to make people feel good. Not doing that. We're gonna give you the truth. And the proof is the receipts are there because they've already put it in writing. It's directly from the CBI. The communication is directly from the World Trade Organization. Whereas others may say, oh, they're going to do X, Y, Z by this time. Nope. Follow the receipts directly from the sources, which is the CBI, World Trade Organization. And they're showing it. There's nothing hiding. There's nothing in secret. It's all public information.
Correct.
Was there something else that you wanted me to?
No, I appreciate it, man. I just didn't want you to sit out here and just keep asking if anybody had a question. Maybe
because I was getting ready. I was getting ready to end the call. So, yeah.
Trying to hold on to keep you here a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I appreciate it because I know. Because what happened is people will hang up and they'll be like, "Man, I should have asked that question to Freedom Fighter while I was on," but then it'd be too late because I'm not going to cover this next week. It'll be a total different topic.
Completely understand. Now, I do have one more question. So you mentioned UPI, FedNow, FedWire, and I've asked a question before about U.S. Treasury and Fed. You gave me an article showing that they were at a special purpose vehicle where they were able to use exchange stability fund. With FedNow and FedWire and us having U.S. Treasury direct accounts or having access to, right, because of the funds, what happens with the Fed at that point? Does the U.S. Treasury supersede and take over the Fed, or is that merger just there and they're just two separate entities that will continue and remain in the same position?
Man, do you ask intelligent questions all the time like this, or is this just tonight? What's going on here, man? What's going on here, man?
I'm reading on my own, and I don't really have too many people I can talk to about it. So I'm gonna take advantage of you tonight a little bit.
I don't mind at all, because these are questions that other people may have as well. No, so it's all good. So the Federal Reserve was, in theory, was rolled under the U.S. Treasury in 2017 under the Trump administration.
Correct.
And so, and it shows the receipts for those listening. The receipts show in the Federal Register, which is the federal government, the government's regulatory site and place where laws and regulations are passed and put into the history books, the Federal Register. It shows by the articles shared by Goldilocks, the IRS is rolled under the Treasury, Federal Reserve is rolled under the Treasury, SEC and several other agencies, all under the Treasury. The Treasury, the Federal Reserve will still exist, but not in the capacity that they once did before. And if I can think of, for lack of a better term, they won't have the power or the control that they once did before. They'll continue to exist, but the U.S. Treasury, when the Federal Reserve, we can say, who's your daddy? U.S. Treasury.
Okay.
yeah, U.S. Treasury. So they'll coexist, but they won't have the power that they had before. Powers with the Treasury. Mm-hmm. All right. You good to go?
I appreciate it. Thank you again.
All right.
I'm good.
All right. No problem. Excellent. All right. Who has another question? Okie dokie. A5TRQ. What's up, man? You can unmute.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm blessed without stress, man.
There you go.
I'm thinking like a billionaire now.
I love it. Yes. I love it.
Yeah, I appreciate your videos on YouTube. Those some good updates. I appreciate that.
More than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Goldilocks gives
Mm-hmm.
and the whole community some good information.
Yes.
My question is, will this help the dollar from collapsing?
What helped the dollar from collapsing? You're speaking of
Iraq.
Gold will help the dollar from collapsing. The gold standard.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, the backing of the dollar with gold.
Now, that doesn't have to happen for the exchange rate to change, right? Or that happen after?
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken.
we see, because we're in a fiat system that nothing is backing our currency. So we exchange into a fiat system. What's going to protect our money in the new banking in the banking system where we're still in fiat?
Right.
Nothing. So we need gold to protect our money in the new banking system. When we exchange, we need a standard, a gold standard, to be there in order for our wealth to just not poof, the dollar crash, and you go and you exchange, you exchange, and man, you're feeling like a billionaire. You got millions and millions of dollars in your bank account, and you wake up the next morning and the market has crashed, and you got nothing in your bank account but a few $100 because the dollar just crashed. If you had gold, you golden. Your money's still there. The millions of dollars still there because it's backed by that beautiful, precious asset. Mm-hmm.
I listened to Trump, and he talks about 1929, and we all did our research. I mean, we know what happened that year, so that's why I was wondering, like, does this happen before that happens or after that happens?
Well, the goal must happen before in order for our money to be secure once we exchange. The beautiful thing, and I'll share this with you and everyone listening to this call about a gold standard. With the digitizing of the banking system, when we see we have the regulations for stable coins going into play, when we see we have, for example, the Ripple stable coin, when we see we have, which is the RLUSD. We see we have the ISO, International Standard Organization, ISO 222, that is being interlinked in all the banking systems via XRP, and the Ripple network is how the tokenizing of our assets, the digitizing of gold, silver, and other assets are able to move through the quantum financial system through the ISO 222 system, through XRP, via the Ripple network. So this gold standard and the digitizing of the gold is what the tokenization of the assets, what we're waiting on. And then in as well, what happened on October the 1st for the Basel III capital requirements for large banks went into effect on October the 1st. That is one of the steps towards a gold-backed system. The Basel III is a part of the Bretton Woods requirements. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, do you think the dollar will be replaced with RLUSD?
If that happens, I don't see it being our lifetime, but it may happen in the future. It's possible, but I can't answer that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we see that Ripple is working with the whole world.
That's right.
Even the BRICS countries are using Ripple. So
that's right. Mm-hmm.
It's like we're the ones that started BRICS.
Well, actually, in a way, yeah, because BRICS started to get away from the USD. Yeah, BRICS started to as an alternative to the USD, to break away from the USD, the American system, banking system. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I see how we will remain the world reserve currency because we have Ripple.
Everyone has Ripple. So how can we be the world reserve currency when everyone has Ripple?
Well, like, isn't it Ripple a U.S. company?
It's a global company. Every country around the world, like you just said, even BRICS nations have Ripple. Does that make sense, young man? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep. You got it. No problem. Great questions. All right, Dee Dee, you can unmute. And what's your question, Dee Dee and Dale?
Hello. How are you doing tonight, Freedom?
Good. How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing pretty good. This might sound like a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Whenever we go to exchange our money to the banks, where do the banks take the currency that we're exchanging to? Are they taking it to the Treasury Department?
It will ultimately, yes, eventually roll up through the Treasury, but think of it as in the Federal Reserve, which is under the U.S. Treasury.
Because the reason I'm asking is, can we directly go to the U.S. Treasury? Do we have to go through the bank?
What do you mean, go to the U.S. Treasury for what specifically?
Can we exchange our currency directly with the U.S. Treasury?
No, that's what you'll be doing at the bank, but the U.S. Treasury is ultimately in control.
Okay.
Because the U.S. Treasury doesn't have a branch for you to go to or anything like that.
Because I was trying to figure out what's in it for the banks. The banks have been lying to us for years that this isn't real. Now they're excited and they're finally telling us that it's happening.
Right.
So I have to ask myself, what's in it for the banks?
Good question. Well, what's in it for the banks is the do you recall how even tonight we talked about like the ACH transactions and how it takes 3 to 5 days for transactions to settle in the banking system?
Yes, I understand that. And now everything's going to be instant quickly. There's no
Right.
more the money sitting around. Yeah, I get that.
That's the huge incentive for the banks. So instead of the banks waiting 3 to 5 days to settle transactions are settled instantly. So that means instead of 3 to 5 days for profits, it's instant profits for the banks.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. I just wanted to tell you the chicken and the egg. You know how I speak to the Holy Spirit? You're going to laugh, but I asked God that question. I said, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Do you know what he told me? He told me it was the chicken. He says, I put all the animals in front of Adam to name, and it was a chicken, not an egg. Just letting you know.
Oh, oh my God! Thank you.
Okay.
And tell.
Well, you have a good night.
All right, you and Dale as well. Tell Dale I said hello.
He's right here. Tell
Hey,
him hello
Dale.
to him.
Hey,
How you doing,
Thanks
buddy?
for your question. I do appreciate everything you say.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Before we disengage this jocularity, let me just ask this because I know what you just said about the banks.
Uh-huh.
In order for us to exchange, do you foresee that there's going to be a fee involved with an exchange fee with the bank, like a percentage of whatever our currency is or what it revalues for?
It won't be. Yeah, there'll be a fee. It'll be a bank fee, but not a percentage per se of your currency, like 2%, 3% of your money. So different banks may have different fees, and they'll discuss that with you when you go to exchange.
I'm just trying to figure out
It'll
how
be
the
minimal.
bank is, unless they are able to talk you into parking your money with that said bank.
Mm-hmm.
What does the bank have in it for them that it will? I can't answer that. What's in it for the bank to go to the trouble of exchanging virtually millions of dollars of our money if they don't get something out of it? I mean, they're not there for humanity and prosperity. You know, they're not goodwill. They're not going to come out there and just say, oh, hey, we can do this. We have the connection with the U.S. Treasury. So bring it into us. We'll go to all this trouble of doing all these accounts and exchanging your money, and they don't get anything out of it. Banks are there to make money, and they're going to have to make money.
That's very true. Very true.
So,
there's different ways. There's different ways for them to make money. Is that what you're trying to find out, what those particular ways are?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why would they be so eager for us to exchange our money if they're not making a big piece out of it. Banks don't typically operate on making a 1 or 2% fee profit.
True, they will make money.
I have another question I wanted to ask you. You said that in that meeting that it was Chase Bank and
Citibank.
Citibank. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a question? Was Wells Fargo in that also?
No.
Just those two banks?
Just those two banks.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You have a good night, and I can't wait to. I wish Anastasia would come back soon because I really enjoy her Thursday night calls.
November 7th, she'll be back.
Well, I'll be there. Thank
All right,
you.
young lady.
Have a good night. All right.
You
Bye
too.
now.
Good night. All right, folks. Any more questions? All right. Okay, Eve, I see a young lady. Come back to you. You can unmute, Eve. What's your question, young lady?
Okay, I was making sure nobody else had one. So
no problem.
Okay. I know you talked about that there's another working session or working meeting in January, which will be the
And
fourth one.
the first quarter. They didn't specify if it's January just yet. They said it'd be the first quarter. We'll find out what month when they announce it.
Okay. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. I kept looking for it while we've been talking here and I was still listening. But
Yeah.
on one of the latest, I want to say it was from a video that you did, but in part of the introduction, it talks about the World Trade Center. And it was talking about Iraq and, one more meeting, whatever. I'm not using the exact words.
I
But
know
then
what you mean.
okay. So,
I follow.
and then it said something about, but each country is weighed on its own merits, something to the effect that it led you to believe that, while this is the format, then it's kind of like it was saying it left room for there to be changes that necessarily, every country didn't follow the same time frame. Every country was judged on its own merits. So in that vein, does that mean that it could happen at any time?
Okay. Good question. What you're referring to is the process of a country to gain full accession into the World Organization. Iraq has already met all of those requirements that you're speaking of. They've already gone through the back and the forth negotiation with other countries, traveling to different countries, negotiating with them. They've already gone through the process of what you're referring to the point now where they have met all of the requirements to join the World Trade Organization, with the exception of certain legislation that the Iraqi parliament must pass and the fourth working party first quarter of next year.
Okay. All right. I gotcha. I just wondered if that left a lot of room for, for something to, maybe happen before the end of the year or before, the end of the next quarter. But
they've already. It's a good question, because what you're referring to is they have, for example, let me just tell you this. Iraq had their what's called, you're aware. I see you've been reading and researching. I love it. You're aware of the fourth working party at the first quarter of next year. So in July of this year, they announced that by August the 15th, Iraq was going to meet with the World Trade Organization again. This was called the third working party with Iraq since 2008. They've been in what's called the third working party meeting. So they've already met the requirements, have met the qualifications to now move forward with the fourth working party to now enter into the World Trade Organization.
Okay. So they've met everything, but they still have to go through this fourth working party
correct,
meeting, whatever. But they've met everything.
With the exception of also that Parliament is called a legislative action plan.
Okay.
From the WTO. This is a packet that they get from the WTO, and then they go back to the Parliament, and Parliament has to approve this package.
Yes.
Now, the beautiful thing about it is the various Parliament members who are part of what's called the minister, like the Minister of Trade, the Minister of Agriculture. They have representatives on the Parliament which have already pre-negotiated this package that's going to come from the WTO back to Parliament. It's already pre-planned.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I hope I articulated that.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's coming that whereabouts where I was thinking. So, one more question with all that: would the CBI, the Parliament has to approve a rate, right?
Parliament does not have to approve a rate. The rate,
Okay.
yes, the rate comes from the CBI. The rate
Okay.
doesn't.
That's what I meant. I'm
Not.
sorry.
No problem. No problem. The rate doesn't come from Parliament. What Parliament is responsible for is a rate in their budget,
Right.
not
Okay.
the rate of not with the rate of the Iraqi dinar in the budget. The rate change will be announced and come from the CBI.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that has to be done before it's done. They have to announce it first.
And that announcement first will come around the time they go international.
Okay. All righty. You're a sweetheart. I love you.
Thank you, beloved, and love you back.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.